Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown,
the unofficial sumo podcast
for official sumo fans. Welcome to Grand Sumo Breakdown. This is Jake.
And this is Mac.
And today we are joined by a lightweight wrestler out of Dark Circle Sumo. Welcome to the show, Chad New. What's your favorite color?
Red. Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. Now, are you a Marvel or DC fan?
Of course, Marvel has so many more interesting characters than DC. Like, there's only one good character in DC, and that's Batman. And the other
all right,
ones
you
are-
win. You passed. You can be our friend.
All right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like to let our interviewees prepare for those questions because those are really the important ones that we
I mean, I already have a strong opinion about these kind of things. So.
No.
Oh man. Well, anyways, Chad, we've seen you wrestle a couple times personally, which has been awesome. We saw you down in Austin for Nationals last year. You came out to Vegas in December. And actually, we just saw you get on the podium in San Antonio at the Texas Classic. Why don't you tell us a little bit about how you got into sumo and just, you know, what everybody's got something funny, you know. Did you come from like another sport, or are you a Japan nerd, or where did it come from for you?
Well, I have an entire martial arts shtick that I can go through. It might take like around 5 minutes. To like
I'm ready. Do it.
Yeah.
It really all started when I was in high school and I got into like Kung Fu movies. I loved like Hong Kong cinema, like my favorite movie of all time. And if you show me this movie nowadays, there's a specific scene in that movie that will make me cry every single time because it reminds me of martial arts. And so after I got out of high school, a couple of years later, I got into fitness. And so I was working out all the time, but I wanted to do something that was fitness related and competitive. So I was in College Station. I went to Texas A&M University, and the only thing they had really available at the time was either they only had kickboxing or Muay Thai available. And so I got into Muay Thai, and that's the first martial arts I got into around maybe like 8 years ago. I was doing Muay Thai at this gym. It was like a hybrid Muay Thai Muay Thai MMA gym. And every once in a while, once a month, we would do jujitsu, and that would always be my favorite class. And I was always begging them to do jujitsu because jujitsu, if you know anything about jujitsu and martial arts, jujitsu reminds me of those Kung Fu movies. So whenever you think about stuff like the secret technique, like people walking into your gym and they know the hidden crane style, that kind of stuff doesn't happen in kickboxing or Muay Thai.
There's no like
you might have like certain kind of combinations that you do.
Yeah,
but
there's no secret spinning kick or something that nobody's ever heard of.
No mantis, no snake.
But in jujitsu, yeah, sure. Maybe there's some creepy.
The well is so deep of technical moves that you can do. There's only one way you can throw a punch, but there's 1,000 ways you can do an armbar from so many different positions. And it fascinated me for the longest time. So I got into jiu-jitsu like around, I wasn't doing it. I was just off and on doing jiu-jitsu. A couple of years later, I finally started going to a jiu-jitsu gym. And then around the same time, maybe my martial arts striking career was catching up with me a little bit, and I got sick of striking. So I would always get headaches and I would get super salty. So whenever someone punches me in the face, it pisses me off every single time. Like I never got over it.
You know,
I don't blame you.
I gotta say, I feel exactly the same.
I thought that eventually I would like just shake it off and like get like, because striking is horribly like psychological. Like when you get into a ring with someone, like your head, like if you're not like a killer instinct, your head will explode and you're on fire. And you're totally demoralized by this guy kicking the shit out of you. And so I just couldn't ever get over that. And I always loved jujitsu better. And so I ended up giving up striking just to do jujitsu completely. So yeah, that's how I did for a little bit. Eventually, I was really starting to get into, because the problem with jujitsu right now, and a major critique I have on it, is that nobody wants to stand up in jiu-jitsu class. Like 90% of the people just want to sit down and do newaza, like the ground fighting.
Sure.
But I was more interested in tachiwaza, like because that has more of a self-defense aspect. So if you're in a street fight and you sit down, someone's gonna soccer kick you.
Game over.
Yeah, you're, like it doesn't like that's why that's the biggest critique I have on more sport jujitsu right now is that it's so divorced from actual self-defense that whenever people actually try to say that in like jujitsu classes, sometimes I hate to be like that guy, but sometimes I just laugh at them. Like, are you fucking kidding me? Like, you're telling me this move right here, where the guy is just going to start bashing your face in if you try to do this in a street fight. It's like, not even going to work at all.
Like when guys try to do leg locks in the UFC or something like that, and then the other guy just punches them in the head.
Exactly.
Yeah, like...
yeah. I mean, yeah, like if you try to pull guard in a street fight, you're getting your ass handed to you. So I started getting into like more stand-up and like I needed to add variety because I was doing jiu-jitsu like 5 times a week. Like it was getting boring. Like I hated I would go to jiu-jitsu class and I would hate being there the entire time. But I loved jiu-jitsu, but I hated being in class. I hated doing that kind of schedule. So I needed to mix it up. So I tried judo for a little bit, and I did judo for maybe like 3 or 4 months, but it's way too high impact with the it's way too high impact for me. Like, and then there's trust issues that you have with people. So you have to trust that your partner is not going to slam his entire body on you whenever he throws you.
Sure.
And you can't trust everybody with that. That's just with striking too. You have to kind of trust that the fact that your sparring partner isn't going to lose his shit and just start beating the shit out of you and like trying to knock your fucking teeth in. You have to that's one of the reasons I got away from it as well, because you can't trust people. You can't, like, it's hard to find good training partners like that.
Because if you go all out with either of those, you're just gonna hurt each other.
Exactly. You're gonna get yourself hurt.
But people, I mean, like people like whenever, like, because striking can be more macho than jujitsu. So people will be like, oh yeah, I want to see if I can knock this person out. Like maybe a new person, like walk in the gym. Let's see if let's see how big my dick is and just try and knock someone out. And so it has more of that, like more of those kind of people will come in there and do that. And not so much in jiu-jitsu because it's a very complicated game and you can't, this is like, if you try to do that on a, like, I don't know, if you went into a gym and tried to submit a blue belt, like someone who's been doing it for at least 1 year, it's not going to happen on your first day. I mean, you could get lucky on your first day of boxing class and knock out someone who's been doing it for more than 1 year. So, and so I was always like interested in mixing it up, but I wasn't getting into judo. And then finally, maybe a year or two later, Justin actually gave a seminar at one of the jiu-jitsu gyms I went to.
Oh, cool.
And so he was getting ready for the Consulates Cup. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to try that, because I was super interested in new grappling styles, like wrestling or just all that kind of stuff. And then I went to that class, and then ever since I was following with Justin. So that's how I got into my
got hooked.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I know he's one of the ambassadors of the sport out there, who's, you know, responsible for a huge chunk of the people that are, you know, currently practicing and all that. So do you still do a lot of jujitsu? Is that like your main one still, probably?
Yeah, it's my main one. I probably go on a good week, I go to jiu-jitsu like 3 times a week.
Wow.
On a really good week, like if I were to, like, but I mean, this is where if I go too much, my arms start to blow out and I walk around like Quasimodo because my body starts to shrivel up. Yeah. And that's normal. Like people, I met people who are competitive, like jujitsu homeless people who just do jujitsu. They don't have jobs. They just live at the gym. The jujitsu homeless people, and they walk around like that. They walk around like Quasimodo because their body starts so full of inflammation. But yeah, if I had like my way, I'd probably be going like 3 or 4 times a week, or 4 or 5 times a week. But my body will mess up.
How have you found your the jiu-jitsu has affected your sumo? Have you noticed that it's the grappling has improved, or have you noticed any similarities with it?
Well, I would say if anything is a compliment to anything else, sumo would be a compliment to my jiu-jitsu. But I think because of my background in jujitsu and because I went to gyms where we only stood up, I focused on that. I would only go to another gym if they said we stand up only, or they would say it's okay to stand up. So I actually had I had an advantage against people who hadn't done martial arts before because I understood like stuff like base and throwing people off and doing like a couple baby judo throws. And so that's where like my jujitsu background helped for sumo. But on the other way around, for sumo helping my jujitsu background, I would say, to my point earlier, because everyone's interested in newaza, like no one, like if they identify that they're not going to sweep you or get you off your feet, they're just going to sit down. And so it didn't really help at all.
One thing, so I am a complete novice, but I did try no-gi jujitsu for a while, just for fun.
Yeah.
One thing that I could see as an overlap, do sumo exercises help like with your hip flexibility or things like that? Or is there anything translatable, or is it just like extra fun, a different sport to mix it up?
I mean, because like, I mean, there are certain elements of the sport that I can use, like translate over. Like if I can use like certain like philosophies, like I like keeping the psychology of maybe like the psychology of fighting with someone else. Like if you're this is the first time you're doing a martial art and you get into a ring, any kind of ring, any kind of martial art, you're not going to you're going to have like jitters. You're going to be like, this is like what's going on here? Sure. What if this guy goes crazy and like breaks my legs? That's the first thing that's the first hump you have to get over whenever in martial arts, is getting into a ring with someone and then telling yourself, this person's probably not going to break my legs, and this time at least.
This time, yeah.
So getting through that, and then maybe like certain techniques like Russian, like certain wrestling techniques. And actually that's something that really I loved that seeing in Las Vegas, is whenever I believe he was a middleweight guy, he was like a wrestler, and it was the first time he had ever stepped into a dojo.
Yeah,
and
Jordan.
Yeah, really like throwing people around, because his background in stand-up, that's what really helped him and made him like excel, because he might not understand sumo, but he knows how to move people around because he's a wrestler. He knows how to move people around on their feet. And so I have an idea about how, I don't know how to move. Like I'm not like that guy, like really good at it, but I have like some idea on how to move people around and like get them going. So that's how it would help. But
I gotcha. Yeah. I think he was, if I remember right, I think he's one of the coaches at the UNLV wrestling team or something like that. And when he heard the event was coming, he's like, all right, okay.
All right, give it a try.
And now he's on the national team.
I really, I mean, I applaud that guy for being as open-minded. Like he could easily have said like what many wrestlers might be saying, like, what the hell is that dopey shit? Like, why am I going to get in there with like a bunch of dudes wearing like diapers? Like, what the fuck's wrong?
Oh man, no, that was really cool. It's yeah. So I hope that he sticks with the scene, because he could be a real fun guy to have around. And
yeah, sure.
And especially with like, we're trying to get more like training with multiple clubs and stuff like that. You got a lot of jujitsu. He's got some wrestling. I think Andrew Roden's another big wrestler.
Yep, big wrestler.
We got some judo guys and stuff like that. But yeah, I don't know. It's really cool to see what what we might be able to do, getting the scene up and running, getting people training together and all that. Definitely. But yeah, I mean, so you traveled all the way to Vegas just for sumo, though. So you say jujitsu is your main thing, but where do you see your sumo career going?
I think like Justin, because you have to think of it like like the kind of relationship I have with people. And martial arts as a social environment rather than like just martial arts. So I have a closer relationship with Justin than probably anybody in jiu-jitsu, because I am more of a wallflower in jiu-jitsu. I'm not there to make friends. I'm there to like kick the shit out of people. I'm not there. I'm not being macho about it. I'm just like, I get in a competitive mindset. And that's why you might see me in practice where I just don't talk very much or like interact and act cold towards people. That's what I do in jiu-jitsu all the time. Because I get in like a competitive mindset where I don't necessarily want to be like social with people, and it makes me come off like an asshole all the time.
Sure. Yeah. Well,
Like
I mean,
people
if the
in jiu-jitsu
competition
be
is
like,
what you,
they're just like, they meet me in public in another place outside of just jujitsu, and they're like, dude, like I had no idea you were like this. Like I thought you were just like some weirdo. I mean, I'm okay with coming off like that. So
yeah. Well, hey, if the competitive part is what you're getting out of it, then yeah, I guess that makes
Yeah.
sense. But
yeah.
sumo's a more laid back, more of a hangout, social kind of thing for you.
Well, I mean, Justin in a way has made it more of a social thing. And to pull it back to the Las Vegas, the reason why I went to Las Vegas, because Justin actually got me into competing. Like I gave up on jujitsu, competing in jujitsu, because I just didn't get anything out of it. And I actually hated it. Like I thought like I would get major anxiety every time I would go do a jujitsu tournament. Like you wouldn't believe. So I just eventually stopped. And then Justin kind of gave me the, oh, come on, man, you're not going to come to our tournament shit. And then people in jujitsu don't do that, because they're like, we have like 15 people going. Like, why the fuck we need you there?
Yeah. Okay.
And so Justin was like, oh man, you're like, why don't you come with us? It's gonna be so much fun. And so that's how I ended up going to tournaments again, even though I had kind of swore off of them a little bit.
Sure.
So,
yeah, he can be kind of persuasive, can't he?
yeah.
Yeah. Oh well, no, that's interesting though. Has he? I know some of there's a mixed bag within the people at the club we know, but has he gotten you into following professional sumo at all yet?
No, I mean, I only
No?
really watch it. Like the thing is to pull it back to jujitsu, I don't watch any like professional sports. I'm not really all that interested in it. And it's
Sure.
kind of embarrassing whenever people try to talk to me about stuff like the UFC or like and they're like, hey, do you know what Gary Tonin did the other day? I'm like, who the fuck is that? And it's like the most famous guy in jiu-jitsu.
Yeah.
And then they're like, yeah, have you seen this fight? Like or Jorge Masvidal. I was like, what is that? Is that the Brazilian dude? You know, it's like,
Yeah.
So it's just like embarrassing, and that's why I don't like to talk about jujitsu in public, because
Sure.
people try and bring up like jujitsu people, and I just don't know anything about it. And I don't know anything about sumo either. I just kind of do it.
That's okay.
No, that's funny. That's generally way the other way around more often. You know, you're a doer, not a watcher, and me and Mac are 100% the other way around.
Yep, I was about to say nope. But I loved your breakdown of the psychology of what goes into those matches and prepping yourself like that. That is such a unique perspective that we haven't seen, or at least met other people that have been willing to share that. So that was outstanding. So thank you.
Yeah.
Oh well. But yeah, so the Dark Circle Club, I know we've got let's see, Labor Day I think was one of the tournaments we're looking at. Are you looking to compete anymore before then, or is it just kind of whatever Justin can drag you to?
Yeah, it's whatever Justin can get a carpool to go to. If he can't get a carpool, I'm staying at home. So I don't want to drive anywhere.
No, I get that.
He knows that that's actually the issue, or that's the fact too.
Yeah. No, it sucks. I mean, we got nationals coming up here a little bit in Utah, and that like it's a bummer that yeah, plane tickets are just ridiculous this spring. They're so like travel is the big barrier.
Yeah, I mean, I could do that. I mean, I could travel to other places like Las Vegas, or I could see myself going to LA or something like that, just as like something where I could travel to a new place and just have something to do while I'm there. Just have a reason to go over there. Like, not necessarily that I want to go to Salt Lake City or want to go to like Las Vegas, just to have a reason and be like, hey, that, you know, there's an extra motivation. I don't know.
Yeah, I gotcha. Well, yeah. So Caleb, we were talking to Caleb the other day, and he joked that you told him that working out is just kind of your hobby.
Yeah.
But what else do you like to get up to? Is it really just jujitsu and then recovering for more jujitsu and sumo, or what do you get up to?
Let's see. Like I do love concerts. Like if you are privy to my Instagram story, you know that one of my favorite things to do in Austin is going to live music. And they had South by Southwest this last weekend, and I was all over that. Like, this is where if it's impossible for me to get tired, then that's where I'm walking around for 8 hours at a time. That's like,
oh wow.
That's why I've done conditioning for an entire year, so I could walk around South by. and not worry about getting tired.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
That's what I really love. I really love like going to see live music, like maybe nature stuff, like not necessarily even like, I don't know, like riding my bike around town or something like that. But traveling, I guess, would be like my other hobby, along with like doing German stuff as well. So,
Yeah.
German stuff. What do you mean?
well, I mean, my family came from Germany. So, well, my great parents came from Germany. Like I'm from a German part of Texas. In North Texas, there's like a little town called Munster, and that's like a German Catholic community. All of my family came from there. And so I've always been super fascinated in Germany. So I started in high school, like learning German, and I loved like traveling over to Germany. I'm constantly, my phone is in German. Like I still take German classes, even though I've been like certified by the German government as being fluent. I still like love keeping up with German class, like my German, and going over to Germany all the time. That's a part of like my identity. So like because my last name is Chad New, but it's pronounced Neu in Germany. And so being German, like as heritage, even though I'm 100% American, like if I go over to Germany, I know that I'm American, like immediately.
Right.
Right.
So I'm 100% American, but like the kind of history involved and like what my family is or where my family's from, and them thinking about them coming over here and the history of Germany, I really get off on it. And especially since last time I went to Germany was like in last October, and I went to visit one of my really super distant relatives in Germany, and he just kind of showed me around, and yeah, it was pretty cool. So
Awesome.
Yeah. What part of Germany is that?
well, my family is from all over Germany.
Okay.
Like my great like to tell you kind of a weird funny story. So after World War II, my great grandfather received letters from the Cologne area from his family members over there, asking them to send over like stuff like chocolate and coffee and like paper because they couldn't get it after the war. But the relative that I visited was from North Germany. But then I know I have other relatives, or another part of Germany my family is from is Bavaria as well. So it's kind of like a German mix. Like that's not even a pan-German mix inside Germany is actually kind of weird. Usually like people are from like one specific area for like 500 years. So they're from like Sachsen, from all of their families from there. So
Sure. Yeah, no, it sounds like more likely people from all over Germany ended up in the same part of Texas, right? Is that
yeah.
No, that's funny. I'm somewhat similar of French Canadian part of central Minnesota, so like I get it. It's oh well.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's really cool though. We when we first started chatting on Instagram, Justin or Caleb, I don't know, I don't remember. When we go on Sumo and Saki, by the way, by the end of it, I don't remember everything that we talked about.
Nope.
That's for sure. But but they mentioned you spoke German, and so like I texted you in German and immediately realized, oh no, my couple years in high school is
Okay, I appreciate the tried.
I tried. I could probably say like, oh, wie geht's? Yeah.
That's a good start.
Es geht mir gut.
Yeah.
But no, that's really cool. It's something you actively study and keep as part of your life and all that.
That's part of my routine.
Yeah.
I mean, like I still take German classes like once a week. So
I will say German culture, very cool. The only thing that I would say that I dislike about German culture is the food is delicious, but it's all beige. Everything is just the same color beige.
I mean, I think they only can't have like 5 ingredients that are native to Germany. So they have to make a lot of dishes out of that. And they're all very bland looking dishes.
Right.
But
it's
tasty.
all delicious. Yeah.
I was about to say, but tasty.
Mac's wedding was actually a German food buffet, and it's like, wow, this is
my wife is a Swiss
unappealing.
German. Swiss German and Irish.
Cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
Well, cool. Last thing I wanted to ask you about is, as long as I got you here, and as long as I'm sure Justin and Caleb are going to have us on their show again sometime soon, I don't think we wore out that welcome. What's something I can give Justin shit about in the future that you may have learned in hanging out with him at practice and such?
Yeah, like so whenever we would do road trips to go up to places like Dallas or Houston. And whenever we were coming back one time, I think he might have been a little woozy from like driving. It was like 11 o'clock at night, but he started talking to me about like his dick plants. Like he was like he was talking about how he's gardening, and he has several plants that are known as the dick plants. Like there was a cactus that has like a shaft, and then there's two cactuses with balls. And he was telling me like he was so fascinated that like he was like so like smart, and that he came up with this like genius idea that of the dick plant. And then I was just kind of in awe a little bit. Like I didn't know exactly how to respond to that. So.
I don't think many people would have a good response. But like, oh,
very
really?
much like a punch drunk late at night road trip kind of conversation. I love that. Oh man. Well, thanks. Yeah, thanks so much for joining us, Chad. We always love having you guys on, especially from the Texas clubs that we're getting to know so well. So who do you want to shout out next that we should try and have on the show from your club? Anybody down there in Texas? Who should we bother?
Have you done Corey yet from Dallas?
We did Corey before Vegas, but we didn't know him that well yet. So if we have him again, we'll definitely be harder on him. That's for sure.
Let me think. Like, give me a couple seconds.
Take his time.
Maybe you could try Steve. Like Steve in our gym. He's a character. He hasn't really done like the really big guy. He's only gone to one tournament. He's only been doing it for a couple months, but everybody loves Steve. He's got that like traditional, like big ass sumo wrestler look. And you'll know exactly who I'm talking about.
I know you're talking about now. I was like, hang on, which Steve? Ah, that Steve.
Yeah, we saw him at the Texas Classic, and I think did he end up getting second place in both his divisions?
He took silver.
Like that.
He did awesome. I was quite surprised that he did like for his first tournament, he did so well. So
yeah. Yeah, I think he got at least one win off of both of the Della Torre brothers from California. So pretty solid wins for a first competitive show.
No kidding.
Oh well. All right. Well, anyways, thanks again, especially for the dick plants material.
Yes.
That is for sure going in the repertoire. But Chad New from Dark Circle Sumo out of Austin, Texas. Thanks again. We will see you again real soon. Thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me. I'll see you later.
Later.
Bye.
Thank you for listening to Grand Sumo Breakdown. Until next time,
Throw your salt high
and keep moving forward.